Fake news.
Mr. President.
Fake news.
Fake news.
Mr. President.
Fake
I just want to have one thing to say.
Fake news,
Mr.
no.
President, I'm
Very
trying to
fake
get a word in
news.
edgewise here.
Fake news put out by
Mr.
fake
President,
news.
it's
Fake
not...
news is trying to say good things
Mr. President, it's
about
not fake news just because you don't like it.
A few days ago, fake news called...
Enough! Each and every Tuesday, the Journey into Comics Network brings you the real news with the poor report, with the late-breaking news that really matters.
The following is a Journey into Comics Network production.
And here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Journey into Comics, the podcast dedicated to all things nerd, with your host, the podfather himself, Nate Phillips.
Showtime, a-holes.
Hello.
You sound great.
We have beverages. Oh, sorry.
I think everybody's ready. I got my beverage. You're having a White Russian delivered to the stage?
Yeah.
Service with a smile.
You better believe it, baby.
That's awesome.
Girl.
I abide.
The dude abides.
He does
Absolutely.
as well. It's wonderful.
Girl.
That was a great reference. Podcastrophe guys, are you guys ready?
We're ready to go,
They
man.
were clowning over there. I had to set
We're
them
ready to
straight.
make this a big dick day.
Okay. Oh, I see what you did there. Slide your own slogan onto my show.
Me all day.
That one singular fly,
One
he's
nap,
the worst.
man.
It
It's
has
the
been. I've
worst.
been watching. It's been great.
All right, LaffyCon. Well, welcome back. We are officially here with John Tyler Christopher. How's it going, man?
It's well, man. Things are well.
Things are well. That's good to hear. I haven't talked to you in over a year.
Yeah, man. It's been a while.
You've been crazy busy.
A little bit, yeah.
I feel like every time I check the internets, which is daily, by the way, I don't know if you're aware of that, I always see something new that you're doing. Like, there's another new cover coming. There's another new cover you're hyping. There's another new thing you're involved in.
Yeah, no, I've been really blessed. Marvel has been like really good to me, and I have not had a day off in about 10 years.
We were just talking about that, actually.
Yeah, we'll see where things go, but as a freelance artist, I can never complain about being too busy.
Yeah, it's the best thing you want to be is busy.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be an artist if you were not busy.
Hopefully not a starving artist.
That's a theme on this stage today, folks.
Yeah.
That's been
Yeah, no, I did that long enough, man. I'm very content with keeping busy, and between the Star Wars covers, Marvel covers, I'm still doing the Legends line for Hasbro, which has been just so amazing. There's just a lot going on that I'm really excited about.
You had an apprentice briefly.
Why, yes, my Padawan,
That's crazy.
Cameron Cotterman, the best anyone could ask for.
He was actually what opened the like panels today. So it's cool to open with him and close with you.
Wow.
Yeah, right.
That's
like,
deep.
It is symbolic. Not really.
That's really heavy.
So we were talking before we started doing this, and you kind of had a million things you want to talk about and no real refined decision on what we're going to do. I know Tyler has questions galore because
I like you.
I like you too, buddy.
And this is the first time we've met, and I just had to start with that.
I like your beard.
Thank you.
I didn't shave today in hopes that I could have an awesome beard, and I feel it here. We have a connection. This is
There's
great.
lightning bolts going back and forth from our beards right now.
No,
We're
it's just
beard
static
bros.
electricity.
You look dumb, and we look awesome.
I don't want to know where
The only difference between the two of us is you have no hair on your chin, and we have all the hair on our chin.
I normally have hair on my chin.
I dig what you're doing with the hat and everything. It's like a whole ensemble. It's America.
This has been months in preparation. I've been growing out my mustache just for this.
The thing about Blaine is, in anything that he does, he only ever puts forth no more than 30%. So
It's my thing.
that's his thing.
That's a minimal effort stash.
It's amazing that he's even got pants on right now, because that means that he went above 30%.
I can take them off.
No, please.
Good God.
I mean,
This is not this kind of
This
podcast.
panel's
you're getting a
really
preview
weird really
right
fast.
here of what's below.
This is what these guys like to celebrate as their heritage.
Oh, there we go. Right on. Okay.
So this is the,
I picked Star
the
Wars, and
heritage
he
cosplay.
picked inbreeding.
Oh, shit. Okay, well, I don't know really where to even begin. You are obviously an amazing artist. I don't have to sit here and hype your work. Oh. You have a huge following. People love what you're doing. You've been doing the action figure line for the Star Wars books since they relaunched in 2015. Is that right?
Yeah, we started with Farm Boy Luke for issue number 1, and since then, every issue has had an action figure cover.
Are you going to do
the
Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru?
Yeah, Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru.
The charred version?
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
They won't let that happen.
Well, it's weird because when we started, there was a big call to how accurate are we going to keep these to the original Kenner line, and as we continue to develop it, Lucasfilm and Marvel are so cool to work with, and I think they both get what the people like about what we're doing, which is because it started, and again we were very stringent about well, it's got to look like this and it's got to be just like the original Kenner line, and then as it's evolved, they're like, well, could you do maybe some characters that only exist in the comics? What if we do some Phantom Menace characters? And in doing that, we've really kind of opened up to whatever people think is cool to do. So it's been kind of a free-for-all.
So sometimes you just throw ideas out let's fucking do this character. Let's go with the blue Snaggletooth this time.
Hell yeah.
Did you do blue Snag?
I did. That was actually an exclusive of mine.
Did you also do red, though?
Yes, we did red a
did
long time ago.
Okay.
And there was a great example. So when we first started, when I sold the Boba Fett for the first time on my website, one of the first ones I asked after that, I was like, okay, can I do all the bounty hunters? And they're like, probably can't do all the bounty hunters, but we can maybe work something out. And the next one was Blue Snag, and they're like, we're not really sure about that at this point. But as it's evolved, I think the response we've received has been so positive that they're just like, yeah, man, do whatever you want to do.
Absolutely. Have you had anybody send you a picture of the complete collection of your line? I'm not even sure. Do you have a complete collection of your line?
I do not have an entire collection. My comps are kind of here and there throughout it. I have had some people. Getting a picture where somebody's entire wall is nothing but your artwork, literally it's just issues side by side, is the most surreal, but wow, I am so flattered kind of moment. It really is just unbelievable.
Absolutely. You guys? You guys are looking at me so intently, so I didn't know if you had a question or trying to interject.
You pretty much answered. The question I was going to ask was how do you choose who you're going to do next? But
well, with the original, okay, so with the ones that Marvel is releasing, we have basically kind of come on a list that we're just going through. Mm-hmm. However, we try and be cognizant of certain particular characters. There is one, to me, we started with Farm Boy Luke Skywalker. I think there's a pretty intelligent answer as to who the last character should be. When we're ready to close the doors, who do we end with? There's other things oh man, this whole arc is going to take place on Hoth. Well, maybe we should do Hoth figures. So we do jump around a bit, but at the end of the day, it's really kind of just following the list, whatever we feel. It's so weird because before I started working with Marvel, and you always hear these stories of oh my gosh, they're like this, and especially after they got bought out by Disney, there's this oh man, it's going to be pulling teeth to get in. It is the most lax, cool, I'd like to do this, and they're like, yeah, it's cool, that'd work.
Sure, that is something we can agree upon.
Yeah. I had a conversation with somebody at Lucasfilm at one point, and they're like, why haven't you ever done this guy? And I was like, I'd like to, but blank. And he's just like, yeah, you should totally do that guy. Hey, let him do that guy. And I was like, okay, that was easy.
Right.
Well,
part of the reason I was going to ask is because there's so many awesome characters that were only ever realized either in comic runs or video games, like Nim. Nim's such a cool character. I mean, if you walk up to just the Joe Schmo average Star Wars fan, they have no idea who Nim even is.
Well, there's this weird thing. I should say that I think that one of the lines that is drawn is canon, right? So would it be awesome to do certain things from Expanded Universe or from Knights of the Old Republic? I'm as big of a nerd on those things as anyone else is, but there is a point where, is Jackson canon? For a while, he wasn't,
Yeah.
but he kind of is now. Should we do a Jackson? And those are the kind of interesting debates we almost get into when it comes to not just the original line or like the normal line, but then like when I do exclusives of like, oh, I'd like to do so-and-so. And you never know where that's going to land.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, I would love to do a Darth Revan. And I know I'm pretty certain that if... Yeah. You can't tell me if I did a Revan exclusive on my site, it'd sell like hotcakes.
Right.
The question is where is he canonically speaking, and where is he in relation to maybe they've got certain things in the works that I'm not privy to. Hey, we'd like to hold on to that for when we decide to do the KOTOR comic release or what, you know, whatever. So it's one of those things. I propose things, they tell me no. I respect where I'm at in the pecking order to be like, you know, they probably have a good reason for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's, like I said, I'm a big fan of almost all things Star Wars. I'm down with anything. Like, I enjoy doing it. One of the biggies that's been like really weird for me has just been when you look at the original Kenner line, right? Like, I enjoy doing like certain characters, like Jyn Erso was awesome to do, and I'd like to do a Rey, because you do start to realize, wow, Leia was like the only girl in the entire Kenner line. I'd like to draw a girl action figure. I have 2 daughters. That'd be pretty rad, you know.
Right.
And it's things like that, and the expanded universe, and some of the like ancillary materials is so much more broad. As an artist, right? As an artist, one of the things I've been doing a lot lately is the Jabba's Palace, and I'm nerding out on that because it's not dude in gray suit with a hat on, dude
Right.
with gray suit and gloves on. You know, I'm going to be drawing like Squid Face soon. I'm going to be drawing Gamorrean guards, like that's different shapes and sizes, and doing the Ewoks. Like,
is Ula on there? Are you going to draw Ula? She's a female in the universe.
she was not part of the original line, but that's somebody they might consider adding. Like, and that's where I say like there's been certain elements of freedom and flexibility that has come up. Like, I'm hoping that that's the kind, because I would love to explore
Yes,
those
absolutely.
things. Being able to do the prequel materials, you know, like I think it'd be dope. My wife studied fashion design in college, and she's like really big into like fashion illustration, and all of Amidala's costuming from the Phantom
Amazing.
Menace was so cool, and like the opportunity to draw like the Queen Amidala costume would be super rad. So I guess the reality is like I'm open to anything. Like, there are no rules. I just want to have fun doing it. So
Hell yeah. Well, I think you do a good job of having fun, because it's obvious that you enjoy your work, or you wouldn't be pouring so many hours into it. Like you said, you haven't had a vacation in 10 years. You're not really sure if that word exists. Even when you scheduled a vacation for yourself, you kind of ended up skipping out on it, it seems. So
there's too much work.
There's just too much work to be done. I got to ask, since the last time we sat down with you, not 1, but 2 Star Wars movies dropped.
Yes.
Both are controversial.
Uh-huh.
But I want your take.
Okay.
Last Jedi, Solo, what do you think about these flicks?
Well, okay. And I'll just shoot straight with you on it.
Sure.
So I liked The Last Jedi.
Same.
I understand why people had a problem with it.
I appreciate that, yeah.
No, well, I mean, like, okay. The Last Jedi, it's such an interesting thing, right? Because The Last Jedi, if you watch it on a constructive standpoint, it's a well-crafted film. Like,
Absolutely.
And the answers to the questions that were proposed over the past 40 years, they were answered in an intelligently produced way. However, were those the answers you wanted?
Not always. And that's, I think, what some of the fan base had to struggle with.
And I can respect that. You know, like, Luke, if you look at Luke Skywalker from that vantage point, the way he went out worked. Myself, being a child of, you know, like Return of the Jedi being the first movie I ever saw in a theater, man, I wanted to see Luke take out AT-ATs with, you know, a lightsaber and go out like a Soja and blah 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 blah. And I didn't get that. And I can understand why for a lot of people, they can look at that and be like, man, that ain't cool.
Do you think we would be having the same conversation if J.J. Abrams would have directed all 3 movies?
Well, I don't think The Last Jedi would have been made in the way that it was. Okay.
Well, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but the reason I asked that is because we saw The Last Jedi together, all 3 of us. When we left the theater, we went until 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning reviewing the movie, discussing, breaking it down. And one of the things that I said that I was worried about is that no matter what the total fan reception of this film is, it's going to be blackballed because I saw the movie, I didn't like it. He hasn't seen the movie yet. I go to him and say, this movie's terrible. It's the worst Star Wars film ever. They ruined everything. And he is so wrapped up in what I'm saying that he doesn't even go see the movie, but then he starts spreading everything that I've said. And I think that's ultimately what has painted The Last Jedi in such a bad light for the majority of the fan base. And I don't know if J.J. Abrams would have directed all 3 films. I don't know if that it would have been any different.
And that's something we'll never know. But my thing is that The Last Jedi is a byproduct of the current times we live in that, okay, in The Empire Strikes Back, we were told there's this dude named the Emperor.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know where he was from. It wasn't important to the story. It wasn't important. We live in a world now where, and I'm as guilty of this as anybody. Like, I am that nerd who is Snoke? Oh, Snoke's got to be this guy. Maybe he's Darth Plagueis. Maybe he's da-da-da. But the reality is, it doesn't matter who Snoke is. He's the Emperor. From a narrative standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
However, every time I visit YouTube, because I watch those kind of videos, I'm inundated with 700. Well, Snoke obviously has to. Did you hear there's literally 2 beats in his music theme, so he's obviously a reincarnation of the Emperor, blah, 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 blah. So it's the overhype culture. Like, we were conditioned to who is Snoke? Who are Rey's parents? Well, she's a Skywalker, she's a Kenobi, she's a blah. Personally, I think the fact that she is a nobody is a cooler answer than if she was a Skywalker or a Kenobi.
And I agree with that too, because in my opinion, regardless of how anybody feels about Luke and Leia's ends in The Last Jedi or further, the Skywalker story is something that should have ended with The Last Jedi and been done. That story has been told. We don't need any more Skywalker. Rey is supposed to be this new character. Let's be invested in her and Finn and Poe. Let's be invested in this new generation of characters and move forward.
Well, for me, it's so funny because, what was one of the biggest complaints about the prequels? Midichlorians. Oh, man, when I was a kid, it was, you can be a Jedi, you could be a Jedi. Like, we all sat there at our parents' tables, right, and we're, trying to move the spoon with our minds. And they're like, nope, you don't have a high enough midichlorian count. You're screwed. Cool, okay. And now that's almost become this, even though people complained about it, it's become this accepted philosophy, and therefore, this family lineage has got a stronger Force connection, yada, yada, yada. With Rey, I love the idea, and one of the major points of The Last Jedi that, again, I enjoyed was it was all built up to pay off that one scene with the kid. And it's no, there is hope, because even if Rey dies, the Force will bring balance to the universe. Mm-hmm. And I think that the hype versus the hope was such a unique thing with The Last Jedi, because, again, we didn't need to know who Snoke was. But again, we've been waiting 40 years to see Luke Skywalker, and how is he going to go out?
Right.
And again, it was an interesting take on it was a right answer, but it wasn't the answer I would have picked. And it's so frustrating because also everything's hindsight is 2020 in that how awesome would it have been instead of Luke going out there, Leia went out there and she pulled out a flippin' lightsaber,
right? And
she went toe to toe and got and she somehow died because of that, and that's how you wrote her off. Mm-hmm. It would have been this wonderful, beautiful, oh my gosh, because we've been waiting for that payoff, and I'm not necessarily certain that wasn't supposed to happen in Episode 9. We'll never know.
Well, and that's one of the things that one of the things that's bothered me about the fan base as a whole, because people are so up in arms about the scene where Leia force pulls herself out of space.
Come on, you knew she had it.
We've been talking about this since Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
If you were a fan of the series, you knew that. You know that. And you can spend 5 minutes on the internet and know that Leia is semi-force sensitive, and the only reason she doesn't do more is because, number one, we're not going to dedicate the screen time to it,
right,
because Luke is the focus. But number two, I mean, we don't need to.
Did people have a problem with the fact that she used the Force, or was it how she used the Force? It was
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, that was a weird visualization.
I mean, it is what it is.
Had she flown like Superman back in, do you think people would be like, hey, that's cool?
Or had she pulled the ship to her instead of her actually moving?
There you go.
I don't think it really would have made a difference.
She could have landed in the Iron Man pose with his fist to Adi Granov, like,
ground pound.
I love they just dropped Adi Granov's name in the middle of this conversation. I'm probably the only person that picked up on it.
I think the fan base as a whole would have complained about it no matter what. As far as the Luke thing goes, the only thing I have to say about it is if we wouldn't have seen the twin sons right before he disappeared, then I would have complained about it.
Spoiler alert!
Then I would have complained about it. But that was so well done, and it's such an homage to the original film when he's standing on that berm looking at him, and the clone or Attack of the Clones when Anakin is also doing the same thing. It's right for me.
Totally. No, I mean, again, I'm okay with how that all went down. Mm-hmm. And so it's such a weird thing, and I don't know if I'm unique in this situation or how I feel about things. Because it's the toxicity of stuff, right? Like, I am so sick and tired of. There are people that have complaints about The Last Jedi that are completely viable. There are people that are pro Last Jedi, completely viable. I don't think there's as many like haters, quote unquote, or defenders that are as. Fans have a right to have their opinion.
Right.
Totally. Like, dude, if you don't like The Last Jedi and you are a fan, you have every right. And I don't like it when people are like, well, it's not, you don't own the movie, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, but they are the fans, and Star Wars is different. Like, let's be honest. Like, there is no my daughters have the like, well, what's bigger, Star Wars? And it's like, it's Star Wars. It's bigger than Harry Potter. It's bigger than Disney. Like, there is nothing bigger than Star Wars.
Especially if you go in. Star Wars is bigger by itself, but then if you bring in the expanded universe and all everything that's been done over the last 45, 50 years. The
subculture of Star Wars.
Right.
Yeah, it's just there is nothing that is as encompassing as Star Wars.
Right. But with that said, it's like I'm sitting in the middle of all this. I'd like to be balanced in my views of the Force. It's one of those deals where the fans have a right to be upset. The fans do not have a right to flip out over stuff and attack and assault people and fight them on the internet. Like, it's the polarization of everything in the world, right? And it's so frustrating to me because I'm sitting here being like again, I'm like, you have every right to be upset by that. Like, I feel you, man. But then, like, I see the stuff online and I'm like, you don't have a right to do that. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't have a right to attack. Here's a good question for you guys.
Sure.
Rose. Dude, what is the hatred over Rose? I don't get it.
She got Kelly Tran. I can never remember. Kelly Marie Tran, I think is her name.
I think
she
that's right.
had to remove all of her social media accounts because people were just like bashing her nonstop.
I was told by people, they're like she is literally in the same vein as Jar Jar as far as despised characters, and
I don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't
either.
Get that at all.
She didn't even
I don't see it.
Do anything to warrant that.
She had a character arc. She was introduced. She was ostensibly a fangirl, right? Like, that was like the point of the character. She's like, oh man, it's Finn. You're so cool. Blah 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 blah. She has an arc. She grows. By the end of the story, she is in a different place with a better understanding. Like. That's just a character. That's literally character
Finn's
development.
Character arc also.
Right.
Because otherwise, you would have had to find another way to push Finn's character arc forward other than Rey. You throw Rose in, and then Rose propels that forward.
That's what happened to Lando.
Mm-hmm.
He starts out somewhere. He ends in a different. Like, that is just so. Like, I'm curious, but it's like one of those things I don't necessarily want to open it up to social media because at the end of the day, I don't want the people that are going to complain or the people that are going to defend, because it turns into this like Twitter is one of the dumbest forms of having a discussion because you're limited in characters, right? So I don't know the best way, because I don't want to hear again, both sides are right. And they're entitled to their opinion, and I respect both of their opinions. I legitimately am curious without oh, she's an SJW. Okay, that's stupid. Like, she's not.
Yeah.
You know, oh, she's like the most important character in the entire trilogy. No, she's not. Like, let's just have a conversation.
No, she's just a decent character. And I mean, her story's brilliantly done considering the catalyst for the importance of her character is in her sister's death at the very beginning of the movie, and one of the most amazing scenes to open up a Star Wars flick. I mean,
well done.
The tension as that ship, that bomber, is slowly making its way to the center of that dreadnought is like, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? And she kicks the fucking ladder. And it's just like, and then she misses the thing. And then you see her sister, and her sister's grieving when you first find her. But then as soon as she realizes that's Finn, like, oh, everything's cool, I'm great, you know? That shows that someone has the ability to put their own BS aside and look for the bigger goal, which they ultimately try to attain. Right. They don't succeed. And I think I said this when you guys and I reviewed this. The Last Jedi is a movie of failure. Everything is failing.
That's the point, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Like, you will not succeed. There will be failures in your way. There will be things that stop you, you know.
Well, failure is the only way that you grow.
Exactly.
Because if you succeed, you don't ever change. You have to fail to change and grow.
Well, as much as, you know, The Force Awakens was, I think, brilliantly executed as here's a reintroduction to Star Wars. You know, like, if you didn't like the prequels, here's our response. We're going to remake Star Wars for you.
Right.
And introduce it and set it up. And people complained about that, but also, like, I think, again,
it's
rightfully
just a copy of A New Hope.
Right, but when everyone walked out of that, they're like, it's a Star Wars movie, and I think that's all Disney wanted to get out of it. So then The Last Jedi's response was like, okay, we've given you everything that you're comfortable with. Now let's break the cycle, right? Like, you know, George Lucas had the famous line of, it's poetry, it rhymes. With The Last Jedi, it was literally like, okay, let's break the rhyme. Let's freestyle this for a second.
Right.
I cannot believe that Disney just let The Last Jedi occur without a master plan. And I'm willing to see this out. And again, I'm cool with it, man. Like,
Well, Nick put it perfect this morning. He said Disney could continue to crank out Star Wars movies the way that they have, you know, up to 3 movies a year with Marvel movies, and I'm going to go see every one of them.
Right.
You know, and I'm going to accept the fact that they're Star Wars movies, and I'm invested in the universe, and I want to see this shit. You know, people can say whatever they want about Solo. If you didn't enjoy Solo, tell me why. I'll listen. But that was a fun movie, and it does not deserve what it's getting right now.
Well, the lack of what it's getting, because it's not making the money, which is what's unfortunate.
I loved Solo.
Same.
I am the first person to admit that when I heard they were making a Solo, I was like, that's a terrible idea. And I had no interest in seeing it. I'm like, there's no way you can replace Harrison Ford. All the myriad of reasons that people had for not seeing Solo.
Were you also upset, like me, that we weren't getting a Boba Fett film first?
No, I think the Boba Fett movie I'm scared to death of that movie. And I hope I'm proven wrong.
I want you to tell me why you're terrified.
Because what makes Boba Fett awesome is that he's the dude in the shadow. Like,
yeah, he's the mysterious one.
Yeah,
I get
like,
it.
Okay, so here's it's similar to Solo. My fear is there's just like Darth Vader. Star Wars we grew up with, and I think the toys have a large part in this. And I think we might have talked about this even the last time I was on the show. There is no story you can tell me about the creation of Darth Vader that was as cool as what I had as a kid playing on my parents' kitchen floor. There's nothing you can do with Boba Fett that is going to be as interesting as the stories I told myself as a kid.
With action figures.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I felt the same way. I felt Solo was as good of a movie as they could have made about a Han Solo.
Absolutely.
It was a space romp, and it was a well-made space romp. However, was it necessary? I would rather. To me, Star Wars is such a fascinating brand and universe, and it has been as large as the Star Wars universe is. We have only focused on 1% of it. You know, I'm also a Star Trek nerd. And Star Trek has expanded into the Klingon Empire. What about the Gamma Quadrant and DS9? All of these different elements, and it's fleshed out this universe. And in Star Wars, we've only been focused on this small percentage. And because, and I don't have access to any books or like numbers, but to me, I think we're only scratching the surface on what Star Wars is capable of.
Absolutely. I think they're also a little scared to get out of their comfort zone because of the characters and the lineage, you know?
And I think that they've kind of... I would love to see them just be like, yeah, we're going to tell a story 2,000 years before A New Hope. And just look at Knights of the Old Republic, one of the most beloved IPs, or like offshoots of Star Wars. And they just did a story that's many years before, you know, the Old Republic, you know, like literally the Old Republic. And it created all these new cool characters. And if the fact that Star Wars, the movies are important, but I think that there's more to Star Wars than just the movies, if that makes as a fan. Like,
it has to come from different mediums. Comics obviously are important. Now that you're being able to tell the stories with comics, it's cool. You get to see like the final words that Admiral Akbar said before the ship got blown up was like, "It was a pleasure serving with you all." You know, which I was just hoping he would yell.
It's a trap, yeah.
Obviously, but that didn't work. And also, you know, video games is important.
Mm-hmm.
That's a new medium that people are great at telling stories. They need to have brilliantly done single-player Star Wars games.
And I think Star Wars is strong enough that if they were to go out and say, like, if your argument is on return on investment, which I respect, like, dude, at the end of the day, like, it's a business.
Yep.
I mean, you know,
that's what they're looking at.
Money talks. But I would love. I think that there's an opportunity with the strength of the Star Wars brand. And I don't know how much you read online and you're like, whoa, is it damaged now? Is it, you know, Solo didn't do as well as, but did it do bad? What are the thing is we're seeing box office receipts. Is Solo going to do better on home video sales?
How is it streaming?
How's it when Disney launches their streaming service? What's that like? All of these questions. So to me, I'm like, man, I would love if they just like if they went out and just started taking risks of, let's make new characters. And then we have new action figures. And then we have new... Like, Boba Fett will never be as cool as Boba Fett is right now. Like, there's nothing they can do in that movie to make Boba Fett more cool or more likable as a character.
Totally agree.
Part of the reason I asked you that is because Boba Fett is my number one and my top 5 favorite characters of Star Wars ever. If I was going to do a top 20... 10 of those people would be bounty hunters.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the bounty hunters were always the coolest characters in the series for me. You know, it was the only time that I didn't feel that way is when, remember that comic arc when Boba Fett just magically was a master with a lightsaber and fought Darth Vader and, you know, stuff like that. It was like, okay, this is too much, you know. But he was so mysterious and he was so cool, and Dengar and
Bosk.
Bosk is my man.
Bosk is in my top 5 also.
Did you know that Bosk's actual uniform that he's wearing is from a Doctor Who serial?
Yes, I did.
I did not know that.
I did that research.
But, you know, Forlom and Zuckuss are really cool. IG-88 has always been really cool. Okay,
here's a quick one. You mentioned IG-88. Are you aware there's an expanded universe story where IG-88 downloaded himself into the Death Star before it was blown up, so technically IG-88 had embodied the entire Death Star and was going to go on a plan to destroy all, like, organic beings? Does that make IG-88 cooler?
Yes.
Oh, it does? Okay.
Hell yes, it does.
I heard that, and I was like, that's kind of silly. And I
still think it's cool.
I think IG-88, like, and again, maybe I'm the wrong market on that, but I look at Solo, and I enjoyed Solo, but is Han... I'm a long-term sustainable business model kind of guy. Mm-hmm. Like, I can see the short-term benefit of more people are going to see a Han Solo movie than a new character movie, possibly. Respect. I get that. And that's, when you're looking at your bottom dollar, maybe that's the smart move for the time being. But as far as growing the brand and expanding it, you put a Star Wars movie out, people are going to see it.
Mm-hmm.
let's plant seeds with this and introduce new characters and focus on new arcs and new things. What do we know about the Force? Like, we know of Jedi and Sith, and there's this whole interesting thing going on in the new trilogy of like, well, Kylo Ren is not really a Sith. Okay, well, there's new angles of the dark side. Let's explore that. Like, let's see. Or again, let's go back to the Knights of the Old Republic.
The origins of the Sith.
And see all of these. Like, there's an opportunity to, if you make a KOTOR movie, dude, people are going to go insane. Like,
right.
The hardcore are going to go see it. The hardcore, much like what Marvel did successfully at the initial starting point, how they launched their film franchises, was, oh my gosh, they have Pepper Potts in this. Like, we went to see an Iron Man movie, but we knew the movie was legit because it had Pepper and Happy and all of like this ancillary characters. And at the end, this Nick Fury, do you know who that is? He's going to start the Avengers. Oh my God. And then we told the people that had never heard of Iron Man before outside of Ozzy Osbourne.
You have to go see this.
And then that's how, so they catered to the diehards and made a quality product that was then able to expand to more casual people. And I think Star Wars could follow the same model of, we're going to do a KOTOR, or we're going to create something that's, again, unique new characters, given an opportunity to grow, given an opportunity to literally expand the universe.
Very well said.
If I was going to do a Boba Fett film, I would slightly focus the film on him, but the over-encompassing focus would be on the Bounty Hunters Guild as a whole. You know, it's Boba Fett versus Dengar and Bossk and IG-88 and all the other important characters in the series and what they're all doing against each other, because just like the movie franchise, what they're doing, the lives that they're living, is a business. Let's play this out and see what happens. And with the bounty hunters specifically, there's so much cool technology. They all have their ship. Right. You know, you've got the Slave One, you've got the Hound's Tooth, you've got all these badass ships, and it's. I think what made a lot of fans want to go see Solo was, at first, man, we're going to see the Falcon. Pre-Han, thank you. And then we saw the concept art, and then and then ultimately what the Falcon looked like in the film, and fans were like, "That's not the Falcon. That's not what I want to see." But then there was fans like myself who, I want to go see why it turns into the fastest hunk of junk in the galaxy.
Right.
You know, because in this image, it's not a hunk of junk. It's like a brand new Corvette. That thing is shiny.
Right.
But, you know, I grew up reading the Expanded Universe, you know, the Yuuzhan Vong invasion and all the cool stuff when Han and Leia and Luke are in their
40s,
50s,
thank you,
50s, when they're becoming old and Luke's training the new generation of Jedi.
And they killed Chewbacca.
Big man.
You know, when The Force Awakens was teased, I had extremely high expectations. And then right before the film came out, I kind of sat down and had like a meditation moment with myself and said, you know what? This is a Star Wars film. I don't need high expectations. They're going out of their way to give me something that I have loved since my childhood. I'm going to give this a chance. And, you know, and I tell this story all the time. 15 minutes into Rogue One, I leaned over to my wife and I said, this movie's terrible. You know, I bumped her on the shoulder and I said, this movie is absolutely terrible. I want to get up and leave. And then 45 minutes later, I bumped her in the shoulder again, and I said, I changed my mind. This movie is awesome. You know, so with Rogue One, I think it's kind of along the same lines as The Force Awakens. Our expectations got put so high, because so many fans love Rogue One, that The Last Jedi was just doomed to fail no matter what. You know, it obviously didn't fail in the box office.
Right.
The majority of fans love the film, but to a lot of people, it's still a failure, and that's disappointing for me.
Well, I think it's a matter of where do we go from here, and what is the response going to be? Like, was Han Solo affected by The Last Jedi?
Absolutely, it had to be.
I feel like there were people boycotting that movie for sure,
and I'm sure there were.
You know, I don't know if it's a large percentage enough to damn it as well as it's done, or as badly as it's done, but. The one thing that I think that Solo suffered from is that there were so many negative reviews before the movie was even out. I mean, months before the movie's coming out, you're hearing people go, well, this movie's probably going to tank. Everybody at Disney's expecting Solo to do bad. And it's
self-fulfilling prophecy.
It is self-fulfilling prophecy. You're telling them that it's going to be bad, so of course it's going to not do well. Like, you knew it. You said it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just it's a weird situation for me. But I also remember the prequels when everyone said that Star Wars was dead then. And after the Phantom Menace and Jar Jar Binks, they were never going to see a Star Wars movie again.
And then they still went to see Attack of the Clones, which was worse, arguably.
Straight up. And
you know what's really sad? I'm not one of the people that buy into what Rotten Tomatoes has on their website.
Right.
I'm not a Rotten Tomato guy. I don't care if it's fresh or rotten. I'm going to form my own opinion. You know, I say that on our show every week. I went and saw The Phantom Menace like 5 times when I was a kid. You know, that was the first Star Wars film that I got to see in theaters.
One word, pod racer.
Yeah. But, you know, I recognized immediately that Jar Jar was supposed to be that slapstick, you know, comedic relief character. And I was a little kid. I didn't care. You know, I was seeing lightsabers and starship battles, and we were back in Tatooine, and we got to see Anakin. You know, we got to see his origin, and you know, the midichlorian thing aside, I mean, everyone has a right to complain about that. You can go on either hand with it.
Dude, all it was the Dragon Ball Z Power Reader.
Thank you.
That's again going back to I don't understand the complaint. I understand the complaint, but we needed a shorthand answer for why is Anakin special. Oh, he's got powers over 1,000 or whatever. You know, whatever the Vegeta line is.
It's over 9,000.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you. I'm sorry. I apologize for my lack of knowledge.
That's
of
all
memes.
right.
But that's all that was. And had it been structured that way, and it wasn't really brought back. Now, there's an understanding of maybe it was going to come back in George's original concepts for 7, 8, and 9.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but that's a story for another time.
What I think is cool about the whole midichlorian thing is, so we have the old Republic, pre-Empire, where the Jedi are prevalent. Everybody knows the Jedi, and they know things. The Jedi know all about the Force and midichlorians, and then you move post Order 66, and the Jedi are just a myth. So it's like, of course we didn't know about midichlorians in the original. So it's like, I don't know. I think that's cool.
They sensibly backed themselves up.
Yeah.
And one thing you have to think is prequels are really hard to do. You know the story's ending. I mean, the audience knows the story's ending before you get there because, well, obviously, right? So that's one thing a lot of people were worried about, is Rogue One going to do good and whatnot? And I always, every time someone said that, I was like, well, you know how it's going to end. I mean, there's only one way. We know that the people that get the plans for the Death Star don't ultimately survive it, so I don't know what else they're going to tell, you know?
One of the things that I loved about Rogue One is they didn't fairy tale it. You know, because that was their original plan, that Jyn and everybody else was going to survive.
But then where'd they go?
Right. You know, that scene on the beach as the explosion is approaching them.
Ooh, her and Cassian holding hands.
Is so powerful because, especially, you know, at the beginning of the film, they were so at odds. Like, I don't trust you no matter what, and I'm a scoundrel, you know, which is a callback to Han Solo. You know, the scoundrel always gets the girl, and it's like, God, this is powerful.
Question for you.
It ended the way that it was supposed to.
Absolutely. But I have a question for you. You were talking about the possibility of the Boba Fett movie and what you would do. What you almost described to me would be like Star Wars' take on the Suicide Squad movie, but done right.
Yes.
I'd be into that. I mean,
I'm the king of unpopular opinion 99% of the time. I was one of the people that enjoyed Suicide Squad. I didn't look further into what it should have been. I just accepted it for what it was. I like their version of Killer Croc. I like to actually see Killer Croc do some shit.
Croc was cool.
You know, Croc was cool.
Deadshot was awesome.
You know, it's Will Smith. Will Smith is always going to be fantastic no matter what.
Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn was amazing, obviously.
A little over the top at times, but it's Harley Quinn. It's supposed to be that way. So obviously the plot was very weak, and the overarching villain was a little bit weak. But, you know, for my first big silver screen viewing of something Suicide Squad, I accepted it for what it was, and I enjoyed it. You know, you put it perfectly. I would do it that way, but do it right. You know, the Emperor calls up all these different bounty hunters and says, I will pay you 1,000,000 credits to go kill this Jedi. And then pits them all against each other, you know. I mean,
and they all
it would be
ultimately
a cool story
realize
to
they
tell.
have to work together to get it done, and they still can't get it done.
Yeah, it would be a cool story to tell.
Okay, side note, jumping back to you, JTC. Do you want a Lando movie after Solo? Do we need a Lando movie with Childish Gambino? I mean, it was amazing, I thought.
I'm a Donald Glover fan, first of all.
Me too. Hashtag weirdo.
His portrayal of Lando was almost too good.
Yes, exactly.
Like, it actually... Okay, so I when I went, I had to run and go see Solo, and I had to talk about it immediately after it. So I didn't have a chance to process it. And in the conversation, I was able to kind of like work it out logically in my head. And here's what I came to the conclusion of. I did not have a problem with the actor who played Harrison Ford, or played Han Solo.
Alden Ehrenreich.
Yes. Especially because he's not the Han Solo we know. He's evolving. He's not as sure of himself. He's still kind of cocky, but in like an almost immature way. Mm-hmm. I'm fine with his performance and his portrayal. The only thing was we were surrounded. What hurt his performance in my gut reaction upon walking out of the theater was that's not Harrison Ford, and he's in a familiar setting, and my God, that is Lando Calrissian sitting beside him, and it almost shined a light on the fact that that was not the Han Solo I grew up with, because Donald Glover knocked that out of the park.
I would agree with that. On the opposite hand, part of the reason I was impressed with Alden Ehrenreich, the 6 or 8 months leading up to the film, we heard nothing but this guy can't act.
He's got acting coaches.
Kathleen Kennedy has brought the best acting coaches in the industry in, and they can't work with this guy because he's just terrible, and the casting was a mistake. And I'll be the first to admit, I got very down. I had very, very low expectations. And then right before I saw the film, I got to see the film towards the tail end of Memorial Day weekend. And I had read right before that Ron Howard and him worked very well together, that all the reports that had come out that he was a terrible actor were false, that this guy takes direction very well, and he met with Harrison, and Harrison was okay with his performance. He accepted it.
Gave him like the seal of approval.
Gave him the seal of approval that, he studied his mannerisms, and for the most part, I would say he got a good majority of, his cadence and his facial expressions are a hard thing to copy because our faces aren't the same,
Right.
If you make a face and I make a face, if we're trying to do the same face, it's obviously not going to be the same. I was okay with his performance, Right after I saw the film, I saw that he had signed on for a 3-film deal as Han Solo, and I'm excited to see more if we ever get more, because I think he has so much ceiling, he's going to do nothing but improve. And if he ultimately fails, then that's on him.
So one of the things that I walked out of from Solo that dawned on me, and I think it might also be a problem that a lot of people have with the movie, was we were given a perfect Han Solo several years before in Star-Lord.
Oh, we've talked about that for hours. Chris Pratt is the guy that you should have cast as Han, because then you can also cast him as Indiana Jones, and you've got Harrison Ford all over again.
It's so uncanny as a comic book dude. Like, James Gunn gets all the credit in my book. Like, James Gunn is one of the only people in Hollywood I have any interest in ever meeting, and I would be like, can we sit down and have a cup of coffee so we can talk about Super and all the other crazy things.
Shut up, crime.
Yes.
I love Super. That was
oh my God, so good. And he turned Star-Lord, who is a completely different character in the comic. Like, I'm usually a big arguer, and we're going to have this conversation in a second about one of my favorite characters in all of comics and what happened to him. He took a character that was version A and turned him into something completely different, but it worked.
Absolutely.
And it was a Han Solo. It was a perfect Han Solo in what they turned Star-Lord into. And I wonder if that had an impact on how people viewed the Solo movie, also on how that guy's performance was, that it's like, he's good.
But he's not Chris Pratt.
But he's not Chris Pratt, like, God, I love that guy, but also, like, I want to smack him across the face. Like, it was tough. It's a hard act to follow.
I like the direction that you're taking that, because that is a viewpoint or an angle that I haven't heard. We've said, all of us have said a lot, that they should have cast Chris Pratt, but I've never had someone say they should have cast Chris Pratt because he's already playing Han, as Star-Lord.
Oh, and I apologize. I'm not trying to say they should have hired him because you start getting this weird cross-contamination thing. I'm just saying that he did a perfect Han Solo
without meaning to,
without being Han Solo, kind of a thing, and like, no, I mean, he literally would have just played like Star-Lord. They turned Star-Lord into Han Solo.
Yeah, okay, I get what you're saying now.
But actually with more pathos, to be quite frank.
Right.
James Gunn has that weird way of making a quirky, weird character, but yet he's completely sympathetic and like relatable. I don't know. I loved it. He's great.
Well, when we were off stage, one thing you asked me, and we're going to you just talked about Star-Lord, so I think we can kind of make that little bit of a shift here.
We call that a segue.
Beautiful segue. Hop on it and ride. But don't fall over because it's embarrassing.
Right.
Don't wreck a Segway.
Who falls off a Segway?
People who are on the internet. Just go search Segway fails. Yeah. There's thousands upon thousands of videos.
Only the strong
You
survive.
had questions and thoughts on Infinity War, arguably the biggest movie of 2018.
Yeah, and actually, if you can give me 1 second here.
Matt, Cameron. I need an audience for this one because I have questions that need answered.
Oh, you need Matt Waite and Cameron Cotterman to come into the audience. And
anyone that wants to talk Infinity Wars, I have questions to ask, and I need anyone that thinks they might be able to answer my question.
We do have a microphone for the audience.
What's your question?
Okay. I have seen this online, but it has not become I have not seen an answer to it online. And this was my feeling. When I went in, okay, let me just start this all off by saying, I have 3 favorite characters in Marvel, and they're all kind of the same dude, like Magneto, Doctor Doom, and Thanos. Loved them since I was a kid.
And Darkhawk.
And Darkhawk, yes, he's super rad too. I've been waiting 10 years for Thanos, or ever since Avengers 1, and it was just like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so rad. Huge fan of Infinity Gauntlet, like
the Infinity Crusade.
All of them, yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm all about the Magnus and all that good stuff, and I've got a theory on how like Infinity War ties into what Doctor Strange did, but we'll get to that in another time.
Sure.
So excited for Thanos. Thanos works in the comic. I respect that there is an odd nature to what Thanos is, right? Like, he is this weird Shakespearean character. He is in love with death. Mm-hmm. You can't really show that in a movie other than
Gamora
Hela.
Instead.
Well, or we introduced Hela, the goddess of death.
Oh, yeah.
Who could have been his love interest? I don't know. But I'm like,
damn, I actually like that one. That's awesome.
Could have also killed him if he went to Asgard to take the Tesseract. She could have killed him there because she's most powerful there.
Yes, we're going on tangents here.
I'm sorry.
These are all things I've thought of, but I'm like, I don't want to get into it because it's like, well, what if? Okay.
I do that.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope, man. I know how it is. But Thanos works in the comics, and I respect that you can't have, it would take a long time for Infinity and the concept of like the personification of death, yada yada. Okay, get it. But Thanos was a bad James Bond villain in Infinity War. I liked Infinity War. I enjoyed the banter. The action got a little over the top, but the Avengers movies are touchdown dances. You're allowed to have just crazy spectacle because like
that's the point.
That's what it is, right? Like, yeah, we get like the solid, awesome character development and all the other stuff in the solo movies, and then that was callback. And then the Avengers movies, it's just like it's big, it's glorious and dumb, but awesome, and we love it. And that's how I felt about Avengers 3. Thanos is a bad James Bond villain who is just like overpopulation. Okay, hey bro, like, and it works with any MacGuffin, right? If for 10 years they had been planning us that Thanos is out to get the ultimate nullifier, and when he gets the ultimate nullifier, everything about that movie, nothing changes except for his goal. The MacGuffin is the ultimate nullifier, and he's going to kill off half the galaxy, and the world, the galaxy is a better place. All that pathos. Thanos is as the protagonist of the film, thumbs up, super rad. It's the Infinity Gauntlet. We have been told in the cinematic universe, you get this thing, you are God. Double the natural resources and the amount of space in the galaxy.
Duh.
Make people they don't have to eat anymore. Make people that that MacGuffin defeated the concept of what Thanos was, or it made him stupid. Thanos should be smarter than me.
He was selfish. And selfish and foolish, because he could ultimately, like you said, double resources, make it to where all you have to eat is like one sensei bean, and you're good for
or you
like
just
a
don't
month.
have to eat it all,
or you don't have to eat it all, or something, right? And instead, he took the selfish way out, and like, well, the only way is to decrease population. The only way is.
But okay, by that logic, he's a terrible protagonist.
Oh yeah, he's horrible. He's the worst.
No, I'm not saying he's the hero. I'm saying he's a protagonist.
Gotcha.
And by the structure of the way a narrative traditionally works, and maybe they're trying something new, I don't know, he's now a stupid protagonist.
Okay.
Well, didn't he say there was a finite amount of resources in the universe? Didn't he state that?
Yeah,
he does
if
say
unchecked, life will. I don't remember what the line is.
I think it's something basically to that effect.
Yeah.
All right, so this was my take on it. All right, so let's just take us as humans, or even think of like Avatar. They are causing wars for this resource. So if he doubles the resources, now you're going to have people fighting over those double resources.
Then double it again. And double it again. It's an infinity gauntlet.
Yeah. I completely understand, but that was my mindset going and hearing about that. So
well, if you double the resources, you're going to double the people. Because as resources grow, people grow. We multiply.
Then double it again, or make it infinite, or like the MacGuffin becomes the problem.
Well,
because you have the ability to make anything the solution.
Well, here you go. He cut the population in half, so now the resources technically doubled.
Okay, and guess what? Just the same argument that says, well, if he doubles it, then the population will eventually double, and he's going to have to do it all over again in 100 years.
Let him do it.
Cowabunga. If he cuts the population in half, okay, there's double the resources. People still going to make babies. Like, they're going to run into the same problem eventually. Like, none of it.
Maybe we don't know, and he did the whole Dante thing from.
He did the snip on everybody.
Pretty much.
He snapped his finger, and everyone got snipped.
Yep.
Whoa.
Here comes the snip snap.
Snipped by snapping. That's terrifying.
Snip, snap, tube tied.
Around the world.
It didn't.
Maybe they were trying to incorporate the audience that didn't know the comics.
I guess again, you don't need to know the comics though to logically follow the. Like, I haven't even said what the comics do. It still doesn't solve the problem of what Thanos his goal is.
We also got to realize that there's still another one coming.
Yes, and that's why.
So maybe they explain it more into the next one. Like, when he picked up Gamora, there was just chaos going behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, we see these people suffering, we're going to wipe out half of them. That was his logic behind it. It's like, okay, instead of doubling the resources, we're going to kill the population because people were suffering. And he was dead set on that.
Well, you could say too that that's the route that he went. That was the only justification that he had, because he proposed that to his people on Titan when resources became limited, that if we continue to multiply, that we're just going to doom ourselves, and nobody listened to him. So he got consumed by that idea, because that was when they were having their brain trust and brainstorming, that was the idea that he pitched to everybody, and everybody's like, that's a dumb idea.
It's kind of like Superman's daddy,
Yeah.
It's Thanos is like that, but now he's got the power to actually do something
about
it.
By the logic you guys are talking about, you're saying that Thanos is chaotic evil. Okay, let's use some D&D nerdage here. Parlance. But everything that they've established in the movie and shown is that he is lawful evil. If not, he's shown to be cold and calculating and thought out, and he's also, again, in a well-crafted manner, he is the hero of his own story. Okay? But he's dumb. He acts like an idiot. His plan is foolish. And again, now I will introduce at this point I know the comic books, and therefore I will in the comics, you have to come up with a justification for how can someone think they're the hero and kill half the people in the universe. And in the comics, it works because Thanos is a Shakespearean character. He's doing it for love, dude. Ralph Macchio did the crane kick for love.
Yeah.
Thanos is just killing half the population in the universe. Like, that is how he justifies his actions, and it works.
So ultimately,
he hasn't actually justified it yet in the movie.
True, and actually he is remorseful once Gamora asks him, did you do it? Did you succeed? And he says, yes. And she says, what did it cost you? Everything.
Yeah.
And he's realizing that maybe he did make the mistake.
He was the tragic hero. No, he was a tragic hero all along. Like, in his own mind, he was the tragic hero. And I respect that.
So
and
it
was well executed in that capacity.
We can't really say what's going on until the next one comes out. Then hopefully 10 years of build-up and that Infinite Gauntlet was great. So I'm ready for the payoff.
And that's why this isn't me coming up here on a rant being like, that movie was terrible. And
You're trying to understand it.
But I'm like, this is a legitimate question I have of, and I hope they do give a response. But again, because of the MacGuffin, again, if it was an ultimate nullifier and overpopulation was a concern, makes perfect sense. Everything, I would not have an issue with this.
But
it is the Infinity Gauntlet that gives him. Oh, by the way, and I don't know if they really established this in the movie. In the comics, it gives him omnipotence as well, so he would technically be able to think of that. In the movie, it's more of a weapon grade gauntlet, if you will, but it still
just
gives
power.
him. Yeah,
that's all it is.
One thing I think they totally missed the buck on is not explaining that each stone can enhance another stone in the chain, and that's why it becomes the Infinity Gauntlet. Because the Mind Stone helps you channel the Soul Stone better, and the Soul Stone helps you channel the Space Stone better, and so on and so forth, creating this chain. That's one thing they missed. I think it was cool that they tried to introduce the Black Order, the Children of Thanos. I thought that was a cool thing, but they were really fast cannon fodder. Just boom, 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 done.
You don't know where they came from, and they're gone.
And
going back to
that was
Snoke.
One of your biggest complaints of the film was the Black Order.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't remember that being a
word.
Well, what was that one of my?
Yes. That was one of your only complaints of the film because we've talked about this in detail.
The cannon fodder and the lack of backstory, because I think one thing Dick said is that you don't even really get the names of all of the Black Order.
Right.
Yeah, you get Ebony Maw. You don't really get Proxima Midnight. You definitely don't get Cull Obsidian. They never mention him. And Corvus Glaive, maybe they say Glaive
That's
once.
the only other one, yeah.
Which are the coolest names ever.
Didn't they mention it in Guardians or something along those lines with the dude in the cloak and the 9 fingers?
Oh, the other.
Yeah.
Yes, he said, I can't remember what the line is, but yeah, you were absolutely correct.
Yeah. So they kind of teased it, but again, do we really need to?
Do we need to know that? No, I thought the Black Order. That's what the comics are for, right? As far as
well, not even the comics. Just hey, I'm the dude, and here's my homies behind me. Let's go wreck some stuff.
They were sub bosses. They were the Mega Men.
Yeah,
boss
they're the Bobos in Double Dragon.
Yeah, there you go. So I was cool with them. Like I said, I respect how they were established, what happened with them. Again, I loved Thanos. His depiction in the movie was awesome, and the fact that he was the protagonist of that film was a really cool. I never thought I'd get a Thanos movie, and I did, and I was happy.
I think it's definitely him and Thor's film. He is definitely the one up front, but Thor also has a great character arc in this movie.
Well, if you look at a narrative hero's arc, it's here's Thanos. Oh man, is he actually going to achieve his goal? Oh, he overcame the odds, and now Thanos wins, and everyone's, he achieved his mission. It was just a really dumb mission.
I don't disagree with you.
Something has to happen in the next one, and if they don't.
And
if it
will.
If it doesn't happen, I am going to be, me personally as a fan, will be thoroughly upset. If Drax doesn't eat an infinite stone, I'm going to be upset.
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
Well, Drax needs some power. I mean, that's the character. He's one of the only people that's ever powerful enough to challenge Thanos.
Right.
And he's just kind of a dude.
He's
just Batista right now.
Isn't he dead too?
Yeah, and now he's dust. Yeah.
In the same token, to hoping that Drax eats one of the Infinity Stones, I really want to see Nebula with the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yes.
very much like the comics, and steal it away from Thanos, and that be the resolve.
They've established that as like a viable option to how this is solved. You know, it would be a good arc for her to achieve.
Because then she's getting revenge for the death of Gamora and everything that Thanos has put her through, and all the torture and everything. But then again, she also has a little bit of an evil side to her, so she's not going to have it for long. Hopefully we get Adam Warlock. There are a lot of different things that can come to light there. Obviously, Captain Marvel will be debuting in that movie, or not debuting.
I think they established already that Adam Warlock is not showing up
till after GOTG 3.
Well, that was one of the next questions that I was going to ask. Do you think that we'll actually get to see Adam in some capacity, even if it's just a small cameo?
Maybe
because that's all we've got so far. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be cool if he was in the Soul World just as a cameo, and like.
See, since they can actually fit it in now with the whole Fox deal, my one thing I'm really hoping that they do, like an after credits filming of it, is that the Fantastic Four show up. Like, where have you guys, like, they were erased from all existence. They come out from like the what's the
negative zone?
The negative zone.
Yes.
Saying, hey, there's a bigger threat coming now, guys.
And his name is Galactus. Good luck.
Well, and that's one of the things. Like, after Thanos, where do you go next?
You could do Eternity. You could do
Annihilation.
The
Kree Skrull.
Honestly,
the Living Tribunal would be awesome as a big bad. He wouldn't be the greatest.
Galactus is viable, but I mean, the best Marvel villain,
Doctor Doom.
You could establish Doom as a Thanos level threat if done right. He doesn't need to be made of metal. He doesn't need superpowers.
He also doesn't need to be on a different planet for the majority of the movie, and then the Fantastic Four try to save them, and he becomes evil.
They can do Doom and then still have that threat of Galactus is coming, and do something with Doom in the meantime.
Yeah, well, I think Doom is a powerful enough of a character to be presented as the next. We're gonna build to a fight like. You could even have Doom lose to the Fantastic Four, and the brilliance of Dr. Doom is that you could build to him still being
stronger than the Fantastic Four and
eventually overcoming them.
Absolutely,
in like through sorcery or technology or whatever. I mean, that's Doom can do any. He fought God. You know, like he got his butt kicked, but in Secret Invasion, or Secret Wars.
Please bring the Disco Biscuit Beyonder into this.
Oh my God, that would be amazing. The Beyonder, what a weird character from Secret Wars. You guys probably haven't read the '84 Secret Wars.
No, I've read Secret Wars.
You have read Secret Wars? Okay,
I don't read comics.
Do you think? And I like the way that you've kind of painted Thanos, that he's just a dumb James Bond villain. Do you think that anyone could have done as good a job as Josh Brolin did with Thanos? My personal opinion, I don't think anybody could have nailed it.
Again, I thought it was awesome. I mean, like I said, my issues was. I'm trying not to structure it because it's like I didn't even have a problem with the writing of this. I thought he was written and acted in every Brolin was brilliant as Thanos.
I'm just saying, do you think anyone could have been better than Brolin? Because I don't think anyone could.
Essentially, fantasy casting. If you could fantasy cast,
I think Brolin was the guy, without question.
Nick Cage.
Ooh, Nick Cage would be a weird Thanos.
I'm leaving.
We're done.
Yeah, but I don't think Nick Cage could actually get, the Hulk to back into a corner and just not want to come out of his room for like a week.
Have you not seen The Wicker Man? He could back anybody into a corner.
Oh my God, you brought that
He
movie
just spits
up.
out bees out of his mouth, and it's over.
Not the bees.
Oh, sure, go for it, man. JTC's going to pull a mic on us.
That's all right.
Deal. We're going to carry it for a few more minutes here until he comes back. Do you guys have any audience questions for us before we get back into this about Infinity War or anything comic Marvel related or DC Image? Doesn't matter. We could pretty much talk about it all. Anybody?
You can
wanna
even
come
ask
to
me personal questions,
or you could ask him a very overly personal question.
No one likes you, Blaine.
Ooh.
So I'm glad that you guys brought up the Kree Skrull thing, because that is something that's been has been confirmed for Captain Marvel.
100% they're doing Kree Skrull War. We are going to get the return of Ronan the Accuser.
Yep.
And, oh, God, I forget his name. Starts with a K. Korvath, the guy from the Started Guardians who asks Star-Lord.
Oh, the cyborg guy.
Yeah, correct. He's making a return in this as well. So they're a part of that story. That's going to be fantastic. That also begs the question if Skrull exist. who in our MCU is not actually a human and is actually a replica Secret Invasion style?
Captain America.
100%. I actually fully agree with that. Cap.
You think so?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And I actually think that when he went into the ice is the switch.
It's
all about timing.
If you were going to do Cap, I think that would be the only way that you could pull it off. I don't know. That's a tough one because Black Widow would be an easy one to do because
she makes sense though.
She's a supporting character that doesn't really matter. And up until Infinity War, I had the theory that we barely saw the Hulk, and that in the trailer cut that we got when all of Thanos' children are piling on top of the Hulkbuster, that Black Widow's going to die, and that's when the Hulk's going to come out and shit's going to get serious. We didn't get that, but I think ultimately Black Widow's death is the only thing that would really matter to Mark Ruffalo's Hulk.
My thing with it being Cap is just because of the contract is that he doesn't want to play Cap anymore.
Yeah, there's a lot of that cast that are their contracts are getting ready to expire, and they're ready to be done anyway.
We're gonna look at let's do the real Cap come in, and that's gonna be Jim from The Office.
John Krasinski?
Yeah.
See, I want John
there was a
Krasinski
third person that was supposed to be Cap.
Exactly. So let's sign him
It was
on
Jensen
for 9
Ackles.
movies. Yeah. Oh, there you go.
From Supernatural?
And he actually kind of looks like him, and he's still young enough that he could do a 10-year contract.
Jensen Ackles was the original casting, and then he turned Captain America down so he could do Supernatural full time.
And now Supernatural's ending.
Maybe.
They're
gonna blow that up for 20 seasons.
See, I think
Supernatural really ended in season 5, but
thank you.
I think John Krasinski should play Mr. Fantastic. That's my fantasy cast.
I like it.
That's a good casting.
Like
for
make
Mr.
Emily
Fantastic.
Blunt Invisible Woman, like Susan Storm.
They have such good on-screen chemistry
easy.
anyway.
I mean, it's easy. It sells itself. I don't know who you get for human torture thing. Tom Hardy for Thing?
No. I would do Tom Hardy for Human Torch myself.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
But who do you get bigger than Tom Hardy to play Thing?
Stone Cold.
Stone Cold is not bigger than Tom Hardy.
I'm kidding.
Bork Lenzar?
Ving
Bork
Rhames?
Lenzar?
Bork Laser.
Yes, Bork Laser.
Rock to play a rock.
The thing is such a terrible casting, or just a terrible character for me to cast because number one, I am not a fan of the Fantastic Four.
Boo.
I'm sorry,
Boo.
it's just weak characters, and
boo.
the Thing
Twice.
will never be better than Hulk. Tell me why the Thing is better than Hulk. If you can justify that, I will change my mind.
Charisma, charm,
power,
pain. Actually, pain is the thing.
Yeah,
that
he's
drives
got a
him.
great pathos, man. Like
he is consumed by the fact that he's stuck like that. Do you know what Banner has that Thing doesn't have? Reprieve from the monster. Thing is always the monster. He's stuck as the monster. He has no option.
I'm all about power, man. Nobody's stronger than the Hulk.
Touche.
I mean, Thanos whooped his ass.
Hulk didn't get mad enough.
He did some close quarters boxing.
If you're gonna tie the comics and the MCU together, all Hulk has to do to get stronger is get more mad. And you want to make Hulk more mad, you kill Black Widow in front of him. And
you really just want to see her dead, don't you? That's what this comes down to. You said it like
I'm all for that.
So the Hulk is my favorite character in Marvel.
Fair enough.
Hulk is my guy. And there's so many different stories that you can tell with the Hulk, and I love Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk. I think that moving on from Ed Norton, that they nailed it with Mark Ruffalo. And if you're going to get fan buy-in to tell more stories with that character, you have to make him more interesting. Mark Ruffalo is doing a good job of that. The writers are doing a good job of that for the most part. But the Hulk just got his ass kicked by Thanos with one Infinity Stone.
He used close quarters boxing. I don't even think the stone was activated. That's the thing that people don't think. The purple would be glowing if he was utilizing the Power Stone.
But that's what I'm saying.
He's just boxing the shit out of the Hulk.
He just got his ass kicked without, not using an Infinity Stone. So the Hulk, up until this point, has been kind of the end-all, be-all. If you've got a big dude that needs taken down, like, step up, Green Man, let's take this out. And he got the shit kicked out of him. and then hid for the rest of the movie, because his pride was hurt. So we need that character to do more. How do you do that? Well, you kill Black Widow in front of him because she is the only person that really means anything to him other than Tony. Tony's the only other one that means anything.
Yeah.
That's going to be his Daniel Bryan WrestleMania 30 moment.
Oh my God, that was perfectly worded.
You're welcome.
I love
We
that you
are
brought that
definitely
back to
friends.
wrestling. That was amazing.
We're beer bros, dude. Come on.
Yeah.
Call back again. Yay.
Did I tell you guys did I already say the thing about Stormbreaker? Did I bring that up already?
You brought it up.
The fact that it's not being wielded by Beta Ray Bill and there should be like a crime against humanity because of that?
Yeah, but think
That's
about
my nerd
who's the
Anyone
handle?
was going to
What's
bring
the
up
handle?
Beta Ray Bill, and now I'm happy.
It's Groot.
Hey.
Okay, well, who disappeared?
Oh, snap.
He didn't disappear. He's in that handle, bro.
But
wow.
That's
mind
a part of
blown.
him.
But I don't. That's
Thor's holding it at the end of the movie, bro.
I
It's in his
like-
hands.
I
By that
like the
logic,
idea, though.
is all the poop that people have
I don't know, that's
excreted,
weird.
did that disappear then too? Man, we're getting down a rabbit hole with this,
That is
bro.
a rabbit hole I don't want to go.
I really like that theory.
More than a
but
rabbit
the problem
hole.
that I have with it is because they've confirmed that everybody's in the Soul Stone now. That's confirmed. Groot's in the Soul Stone then.
Well, at least, yeah,
Could be.
obviously, which is cool because then you have the majority of the Guardians who are trapped in the Soul Stone
Mhm.
trying to get back to Rocket, the only Guardian that served. Well, Nebula as well, I guess.
Right.
There's a lot of things they
Well,
can
and then
do.
Oh, yeah.
Kraglin. We don't know where Kraglin's
Kraglin
at.
just dipped. He's not anywhere. That's
we
Sean
get-
Gunn, James Gunn's brother.
We get the thing at the end
Yondu's,
when he's wearing
the fin.
Yondu's fin, and but if Groot's in the Soul Stone, then that's just a piece of wood. It's the way that I look at it. I like your theory, but if you're in the Soul Stone, that's where your soul's at.
My theory just goes back to that first Guardians movie. Groot explodes. There's a tiny fragment of him
We are
left.
Groot.
We can replant that. It's science. So would the handle do the same thing then, since it's his arm?
I think it's a possibility.
It's definitely a possibility.
Because I kind of figured when everybody just kind of went and, ended up blowing in the wind, I had a feeling they weren't necessarily dead, but somewhere else. Soulstone does confirm it.
Yeah.
It definitely makes the most sense. And then with what I hope happens and future tripping, it's probably already happened for people listening. Ant-Man and the Wasp is going to introduce the Quantum Realm,
Mhm.
and the Quantum Realm can literally fast track you into the Soul Stone because it breaks all the rules of logic and science and
It's a
physics and
different
everything.
plane.
So if you can get that tiny and travel interdimensionally, technically speaking, they could find the Soul Stone. That would be a cool tie-in. I don't know that that's the way to do it with Ant-Man, but maybe.
They've again, going back to the whole Thanos thing, they've earned my faith in what they're willing to do and what I'm willing to go with and the ride I'm willing to take because they've been so successful on every other thing. Even again, the things that my gut head reaction is like that's stupid or that's not going to work. It's worked, and I've accepted it because they answer the questions the right way. So we'll see. I'm excited for Ant-Man and Wasp. Even that, I'm a huge Janet fan, but we're not getting Janet.
We're getting Hope.
But it's not the Hope. But it's awesome, and I'm cool with it.
And Michelle Pfeiffer is going to be Janet Van Dyne.
Yeah, it's
Come on,
pretty
dreams
rad.
come true. Another Batman villain to the MCU changed
Snap.
over, just like Mr. Keaton becoming the Vulture. I don't know, Dick. Did you have any final thoughts before we get out of here? I know we're running past the doors closing in this building.
Once again, it's a theme today. I'm just listening, man, and chiming in whenever I can.
Enjoying your heritage on
I'm
stage.
just enjoying.
Heck yeah. JTC, did you have any final thoughts? Even on Blaine, did you have anything you wanted to say to him?
I was just really hoping you were going to say chime in where I American.
Oh.
Excuse me, I believe I have to drop my mic now.
Okay, please do it. I mean, don't actually. They're expensive.
No, things are good, man. Like I said, it's been fun. I might have kind of a big announcement coming up in the next couple weeks, so stay tuned. Follow me on Twitter or Instagram. If you just Google John Tyler Christopher, all my pertinent information pops up.
You're pretty much the only one.
Well, did I ever tell you why I use that name?
No.
I'm not pretentious.
Okay, well, no.
My three-name thing is not...
You have 3 first names.
Is there a John Christopher?
Yes,
He's
there
like
is.
a bad person.
Well, actually, I think he might have been revealed as a bad person, but no, Johnny Depp's middle name is Christopher. Oh. So I realized I can't compete with Johnny Depp, because if you type in John Christopher, it's just pictures of Jack Sparrow. There was only a president named John Tyler, and I can kick his ass all day long because he was only the leader of the free world, right? Who gives a crap? So that's why I have 3 names. So John Tyler Christopher, look me up on social media. Say hi,
Excellent. Tyler, did you have any final thoughts before we close out this one?
Oh, God, I thought we were going to go for like 5 hours.
Well, maybe, but I'm sure that people want to go to the after party that's happening at North End Pub at some point.
I do have a question for all of us. We're at such a unique time in the MCU. They can tell any story. They can bring in any villain they want, and they can make them great. I think Disney and Marvel together have that ability. If you were going to add one actor and character to the MCU, who would it be?
Oh. Played by who?
Me.
Yes. Okay.
I'll be Beta Ray Bill.
That'd be cool. It'd be mostly CGI work.
Exactly.
Got dots on your face.
Yeah, just add a horse head. I mean, you're right.
I'm jacked. I'm Diesel.
Yeah.
No, honestly, I think bringing in a newer character would be a lot of fun. I'm a huge Kamala Khan fan. I'd love to see
Miss Marvel. Yes.
A Miss Marvel, especially with the release of Captain Marvel. I think there's an interesting way you can tie that in. I'm going to be frank with you, I don't know actors.
That's fair.
It's not my wheelhouse, so I don't want to say somebody and then get a million responses of so-and-so would be better. I want to see Kamala Khan. I want to see her come in.
In the same vein as what you're saying with a newer character, I would love to see a live-action Miles Morales. Now, a long time ago, I would have said played by Donald Glover. But he is essentially the Prowler now in the MCU with his now being the uncle of a guy who lives in Bronx, which is Miles' uncle. So now that he can't be that, I'm not really sure who I would have play.
Are you guys familiar with Bob Chipman, Movie Bob?
Yeah.
Online? Bob Chipman had an absolutely brilliant concept, which was Homecoming should have literally starred Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker as a teacher who's basically given up being Spider-Man and introduced one of his students being a young Miles Morales, and then he takes over the...
Damn, that's a brilliant
It's a really
pitch.
smart idea.
I like it.
There's the animated movie coming out in December.
Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, very similar to that.
Sweet. Bring it on, man.
Right.
Can I see Spider-Gwen and all kinds of stuff into the Spider-Verse.
They're going to bring in Spider-Punk.
Can I suggest a character that they should introduce?
Yes, please.
All right. John Cena as NFL Super Pro.
Right there's who I would cast as the Thing, John Cena.
Okay, I could see that.
How?
You can't see it.
You
That's
can't
right.
see him.
I have hate for that character. I have hate for that character,
I should
but
play the Human Torch.
Oh, see, look, yeah.
Who you got, Blaine?
Since we've brought Spider-Man over, let's get Carnage.
Ooh, who would play him though?
I had to actually look up a TV show just to get the actor's name.
We do this every time we talk about Carnage.
Yeah, I always forget the guy's name. Walton Goggins.
Oh, from Justified?
Yes.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
I looked up Vice Principals, but
Oh, is he the dude alongside of he's
Danny McBride.
the guy that's next to Danny McBride?
He's
That guy's
also the
amazing.
convict in the movie Predators.
And the movie Predators is why that's what gave me the idea for him being Carnage.
Nice.
Awesome.
Perfect Cletus Cassidy.
So I'm guessing you aren't really hip on Woody Harrelson being Cletus Cassidy, which
I
is
am not.
confirmed. I
can
believe.
see it.
Of course you can see it.
I can see it. I want to see it happen. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen.
I thought he was going to go, all right.
If I can't Kamala Khan, can I change my answer?
What?
To Adam X.
Okay.
The Extreme.
Ooh.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Terrible idea.
Yeah, I knew you were kidding because you drew Kamala Khan. Like, she was
love
one of your
Kamala
awesome covers that you did.
I do like his hat is backwards in Adam X. He can burn your blood if he oxidizes it.
Ooh, they just reintroduced a Flash villain in a Flash comic I just read that had blood powers. You don't get that often.
It's extreme.
It is extreme.
Yeah.
It is definitely extreme.
There's no E in that extreme.
Mine would be Nova.
Ooh, good call, yeah.
Dude, it's already going to happen because they didn't show us where the Power Stone. What happened to it?
I don't know who I would cast as Nova, though. That's the one...
Michael Cera.
I almost... God, no!
Ryder or Sam?
Either one.
Okay.
I would be happy with either one.
Richard Rider, personally.
You know, I almost said Jake Gyllenhaal, but
Mysterio.
I don't think we're gonna get Mysterio now that we're possibly getting Morbius.
No,
Did you see
Morbius
that?
is its own movie, though.
Jared Leto.
Right, but I thought this movie was when we were gonna get Mysterio, and then anyway,
Right.
I don't know who I would cast as Nova, but either one I would be happy with.
Obnoxo the Clown, Danny DeVito.
You're done.
Ooh, I like those both. What was I going to say? Oh, the thing with Nova is they kind of opened the door. We don't know what happened with the Power Stone, how Thanos retrieved it. As the history of comics shows us, there has to be the destruction of Xandar. Roman Day has to go to Earth to give Richard Rider the power of the Nova to become Nova.
But you already have your origin story there. You don't have to do any work.
No, and John C. Reilly's already in the universe as a known guy that can pass that down. I know it's weird because it's John C. Reilly, but
Still, I mean, you know, Marvel's all about adding comedy whenever they could. So, bam, right there. There you go. Make it a little bit fun.
Absolutely.
And then hit you in the emotions really hard.
Are you guys doing podcast tomorrow, too?
Oh, yeah, we're paneling tomorrow with you, sir.
Can I make a suggestion then?
Sure.
John, how do you feel about talking a little wrestling tomorrow?
I'm always down for some wrestling talk.
Oh, that could be epic.
Oh, it's going
I just saw your New Japan. Oh my God, that's amazing. Bullet Club for life. Just saying.
Do I have to wear pants?
Trunks.
Okay.
You just
All right,
have to.
Who's taking
trunks.
the chop tomorrow? By the way, who's taking the chop?
I can take a chop. I don't mind. I'll take a chop. I've taken chops my whole life. I actually think Dick would be a great candidate for
You
the chop
are a
taking.
character right now.
America
Bill.
You can just chime in every once in a while with a oh.
Yeah.
Do it.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for doing this panel with us. John, welcome back, and thank you again for doing the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's a great blast to have you. You're fun, and you can riff about everything, and probably going to do this again tomorrow for a little bit, so should be a blast. Tyler and Dick, thank you again for joining us. Thanks to LaffyCon 2018, Day 1. I think we are officially wrapping this up.
I just want to thanks to John for tolerating my incoherent ramblings half the time and my unpopular opinions. I have reasons why I have these unpopular opinions. I like to be the different guy. The Thing's still a terrible character.
But you know you're Star Wars, man, and that's the thing, man.
I try to.
You definitely are very knowledgeable. So, all right, folks. Well, I'm Nate for JIC and LaffyCon 2018, and that's a wrap.
We're Podcastrophe.
We are Podcastrophe.
I hate you.